We're back here at New England Naval Timbers. We're going to look at some more wood for ORCA. I got to tell you that this is one of the places that I like being more than any other places because it's close to nature is what it is. It smells good. It looks good. You know, it's a source of really, really nice lumber for me, and you know, there's nothing like it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you
Wow,
made
you
it
look
out here.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You do.
Well,
Yeah, we made it.
Some big logs.
Look at that. Look at that log.
There's
Are you
there's
kidding
two
me?
more there.
Whoa, look at those things.
Yeah.
Now those come from New York?
No, they come from Ohio.
Ohio,
Yeah,
no kidding. Look at these logs on the truck right here. It's amazing. These logs are 40 feet long and 4 feet across at the bell end. I mean, they're spectacular is what they are. I've never seen logs like this. I don't know if you guys ever have, but it's going to get pulled off the truck here. Duke and I are going to get to work together a little bit. It's always fun for me. I mean, I don't do much, but I handle some chains with them. Coming right over the top. It's good. We've had a great relationship for I don't know how long. I've been buying lumber from him for 40 years. Duke's just a wonderful guy to hang out with. I've learned a lot about lumber up here over the years. And I think Duke's a little surprised possibly that I've taught him just a few things that interest me about the lumber that I need to buy. Because he knows I'm kind of fussy and you know, he expects it and it doesn't bother him a single bit. Sometimes I warn him with a phone call before I come, but you know, it's a pretty friendly place. This is going to be something, pull these things off. They can't lift them off with a machine. These logs are incredible. It's not something you see every day in any mill. These are really select logs and they come out of Ohio. They'll just yank them off the truck and they land on the ground. And there's some things that are a little important. When you pull it off, you have to drop your end at the same time or even before the one near the truck lands because otherwise it snaps the chain. It's got like a whipping motion or something like that and it snaps the chain. You know, some people say, well, use a heavier chain. Yeah, but now you're gonna walk around with this heavy chain and drag it up on the truck and everything. Look at this timber coming off the truck right here. I mean, it is so heavy and huge. It's incredible. I mean, it's so impressive that I'm almost laughing about it because I think I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world to see anything like this right here. Now, we need white oak just like we had before, and we need some special pieces because the stern post and the horn timber are really important because you need to have something that just can't possibly check or fail on its own because they don't come out easy. These are the timbers that went in first, the keel, you know, the 4 foot and all of these different things in the stern post. So you need something really good for the stern post. It's going to have a big hole drilled right through it for the shaft log. We're also here to look at some framing stock for ORCA. Now we need stuff that's like 3 inches thick, planks cut to 3 inches thick. Flitches that go all the way through because we don't need the grain to be exactly the same in all the frames. We're going to cut 1.25 inch stock. We want 1.125 inch for the framing by like 3 inches wide. It's flat framed. That's the way the Nova Scotians would have built it, flat framed. Look at the size of this thing. Here it comes right off the end right here and land right on the ground just like bang. Watch this. Bang, just like that, and you see the snow bounce up off of it because the thing is like, it's like elastic is what it is. Even it's that big, you can see it even bending when it hits the ground. Planking's another thing we're trying to find a source for because we want some really good stuff and hopefully it'd be like Eastern white cedar, maybe Philippine mahogany or something, you know. Well, we just took a walk down in the yard here and we're looking at a whole bunch of really nice timbers. We are out to find a piece for the stern post of ORCA. And I was kind of hoping it'd be a little bit more than 6 inches. This one won't come out too much more than 6. But look at this one. And this one's like 8 inches. 8 inches by who knows. The reason I like a slab like this right here is because the bark is on it right straight across it like this, which just means that the annual rings are this way. But the annual rings are the same way all the way over into here, which makes a 1/4 sawn timber, and that's what I want because I don't want that timber of all the timbers in that boat to check or open up in any way. This is what's going to do it. Now, we're going to go down here and take a look at this bark because bark is one of the things that you identify trees with very many times. I mean, you use leaves, but you use this bark. And I'm telling you, this stuff is white oak for sure. But look at the bark. It's got that white tinge to it, right? Look at the bark right here. This bark and this bark looks a little bit different, but they're both white oaks. The thing that gives them away is this color. You see that lichen that's on it right there? It's kind of a whitish gray. And the same thing on this log, but it looks a little bit different. You know, you're always looking for in white oak for these whitish kind of spots like that, because they're not covered with this white color like this. It's a lichen, I think, is what that stuff is. Like this one up here. It's kind of brown looking, but it's got these spots on it everywhere. That's a white oak as well. And when you look in the woods, you're looking for that white twinge all the time. If it's yellow, I would call it a yellow bark, and it'd be a red oak. We're down in the back of the yard here, and I'm seeing some things I didn't think I'd see. These are actually pine trees right here. I don't know that he would ever saw these, but very possibly they're being stored here by some other logger, or I don't know what it could be, but you can tell that this log right here is pine. You can tell from all the way over there because of this white ring around it right here. This is the sapwood. The bark is still on it. And the sapwood just bleeds sap in a pine tree like crazy, so there's no good lumber into it until you get in here. So, you know, you can get some pretty good sized logs out of here, but something tells me that Duke's not going to saw these, that these are for someone else. I don't know, but let's take a look over here. Yeah, that's black locust. That's a nice log right there, man. Right there. Ooh, baby. That's really nice. For black locust. See if this one's black locust too. No, that's a pine log. Those are some big locust trees right there. Look at these. They look like giant Necco wafers out here in the yard. I gotta look at, see what kind of wood it is. It's hard to see it. I think those are, I can't say what those are because I could be wrong, and I'm not gonna do that. So, you know, I just don't want to say. I see some bark on it, but there really isn't a lot, so pretty tricky to... Look at this. I mean, you see this big crack right down the middle. That's really only at the butt end. This is the money piece right in here, and on the other side over here, because it doesn't have the grain going at 45 degrees across it in any way, like maybe a plank or something. When you're doing a timber, in order so that it doesn't swell and contract like this into a rhombus, it has to have the annual ring straight across, but that's as good as it gets right there. Check out this log right here. This is a big white oak log that come from Ohio. And, you know, I tried to make an estimate of how old it is. It's about 100 years old to here, so it's about 150 years old right here. Look at the size of this thing, man. Wow! It's very nice lumber. You see the big cracks in the middle? That's just what trees do. That's like that in the woods. It didn't happen afterwards. And it might have got a little different, but not much. And that's just the way it is. That ends up maybe 6 or 8 feet, somewhere in there. The lumber we're looking for is here. This stuff is heavy. I think it's like 57 pounds per cubic foot, so that stuff is pretty heavy. There are nice logs over there, nice 2-bys over that way. I like pieces like this because, you know, they're not quite so hard to handle, but, you know, it's nice quarter stuff along the edges, but these are perfect pieces for skiffs because you stand them up and cut the pieces right off like in a bandsaw, and you have chines, rails, you know, every kind of piece of wood you need for boats up to 24 feet or so, these will do it. And full length, one end to the other. These things are 25, 26 feet long. Yeah, we gotta get it. Gotta come back when it's melted. Now check this out. These pieces right here are kind of short. You can probably get these for a more reasonable price than I could buy the big, giant, long stuff, and I don't need it. But this is, I'll have to check him out on this, and I can't really see it. That's white oak. So this is nice, real nice. Look at this piece of wood right here. It's got, what a arc in it like that. Exactly what did that, well, I'm not sure, but it either was growing on a hillside and it was trying to struggle to stay up, or something was pulling it over, but something made it grow in that radius, and you can use that in a lot of boats. You know, doing framing, if you were doing sawing framing, nothing like it because you get a longer frame, you know, out of the same curvature. So, you know, this stuff right in here, this is real nice. This is like 5 buys down in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the top piece, boy, that's a lot of lumber. This is the pile we looked at first, and I'd have to say that I keep coming back to it because it's got some really nice quality lumber in it. We're going to get a better look at that when we come back because he'll be able to take a piece of equipment and pick it up and set it down. So, you know, we can look at a couple of these pieces, but there's pieces that we could use all over the yard here. It's a week later, and we're back. Now, it's a really, really nice day. We picked out some possible pieces the last time we were here. The ice is all melted on the lumber, and we can take a shovel and just clean it right off and take a look for imperfections. We are going to look around this time because we do get a much better look at it. I've got to get a look at all of these pieces because I want to know everything there is to know about them. 3.5. We have in our minds this piece up by the driveway there that I've been driving by. I'm interested in looking at. You know, that may be the one because it's right length for us without having to cut it off. The only thing is it's really, really wide. We'd have to cut it down the middle to put it in the truck, but that's okay with me. Well, we're looking at another flitch here, and it's another center cut flitch. You can tell because the grain's going right across it. And the bark right here, look at the bark. It's got that gray kind of color to it. This is Quercus alba is what this is, white oak. And it's a center cut flitch. This thing is what size of tree this thing came out of. This thing is 40 inches across like the other one. It's got the center right in the middle of it. So it has vertical grain from the center out, probably 16 inches on each side of center. That's really, really valuable. It's got a knot in it up here. You know, this is probably, I'd say that this was the bell end down here. You can tell that because of this cut right here. You know, this is where the tree would kind of come out like this. So the bell end of it, when they cut it down, was over 4 feet in diameter. This is a pretty fast grown tree. These are over 3/8 of an inch. Some of them are close to a 1/2 inch. So this thing was growing really rapidly. This side's growing very quick too. Now you look at the one below it, and it's a little slab sawn actually, and it's got a couple of knots in the middle of it here. But look at the end grain of this flitch right here. This one grew way, way slower than the top one. Compare this here, annual ring right here, and maybe over in here, some of the real wide ones. As opposed to this grain down here, these annual rings here are only about a 1/16 of an inch. So this tree was growing very, very slowly compared to the top one. And it's kind of slab sawn. It's got the annual rings going across it this way. A little bit of vertical grain on each end, but even that is kind of like 45 degrees or 30 degrees. I want it nice and straight through, just like that. So we're going to probably take it out of this one here, or we're going to look at a few others. Getting cooler. This one's got some really strong features. I'm going to shovel it off and look at the end grain, study it for a little while, and decide whether or not we're going to take it with us or not. This log is 10 feet long. This slab, this flitch is what you would call it. That's what the woodsman would call it, a flitch. Like I said, it's 10 feet. I'll check it again. It's not quite 10 feet. It's 9 inches thick, a little bit more, and it's got quartered wood in it, vertical grain, a foot on each side of center. This is what I would call a center cut flitch, because you see the heart in it right here, and you see the bark going across it 90 degrees to the face. You know, and what that means is this is all vertical grain, and you can see it in there. That's exactly what we want. I don't want any timbers for the boat that have grain 45 degrees or slab sawn. It's just not quality. This is quality right here. Well, we found our piece, and now we're going to cut it right down the middle. Right down the pith, and it's kind of like a crooked line right down there, but it's easier to cut, and I don't really care about that waste in the very, very center. I think this lumber also is, like I said, it's grown very fast, which I think what that means, it's really, really healthy and when it's in the woods standing, because it can grow that fast. You know, the quality lumber also is grown very, very slowly, but I think this stuff here does not check anywhere near as easily as very slow grown material. So it makes it ideal for the stern post is what it does. This log has got everything we need, it really does. It's got a nice wide corded piece we can use for the horn timber in ORCA, and it's got a nice wide piece we can use for the stern post on the other side. So, you know, I always love doing this kind of stuff, but it's easier if you cut it in like multiple passes because you're not cutting quite so deep. And it makes the slot a little bit wider, so you're not cutting each side of the slot very much. So that way you're cutting maybe 2 inches at a time. You don't want to take and try to cut it all the way through. It just doesn't work well, especially when you're holding the saw right in your hands. You know, it's not on a mill or anything like that. It makes it surprisingly easy and fast to do. So, well, I'm almost through. And what I have to do is take the chainsaw and kind of check for depth, because I have to be through all the way down, not just part way. Like I say, I don't need it to be straight, I just need it to be done. Well, there you have it. I've sliced that flitch right down the middle, and you know, right down the heart. It has like a check right down the center. It's got corded lumber, a vertical grain on this side and vertical grain on that side. You can always tell when you're looking at one if the bark is like across the flitch like this. So these are the pieces we're after right here. One of them's going to make the horn timber, and one of them's going to make the stern post for ORCA.